So Latin America is the most important market, and Uniswap knows it. So they are doing like a sprint in Latin America. And I've been thinking a lot that stablecoins are like the missing link in the financial system between like global crypto adoption and fiat rails.
Crypto is needed here. It is, both the consequence of really archaic financial infrastructure and also the outdated systems, the poor monetary governance policies that we have in the region just make this a very naturally flourishing region.
What do you think would be the implications of having absolutely free mint burn between the Mexican financial system and a stablecoin? Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Frontera, the podcast where we analyze what's happening in crypto in Latin America and we digest the most important insights. I'm Ab, co-founder and CEO of Bando. I'm with Kush, my great friend, founder of Odyssey Labs, and Kush, man, we're cooking, but how are you?
Cooking, man. I think it's been an intense week for everyone, right? But no, super happy to be here and to be once again recording in person with you.
Yeah, and these are my camera skills. Now we are here, we are recording in real life. I don't know, it looks like we have like a sound effect that looks really vintage and cool. So, dude, really excited for this week and a couple of announcements. Remember to go and sign up for our newsletter. This week, the newsletter that we just posted is about 10 memes that describe the Latin American crypto market. Next week, we are defining which episode to publish. We have two in queue, Brazil Crypto Report and Felix Pago. I think that Felix those two were some of our best yet.
Both were amazing, man. I think every time the podcast just kept getting better and better. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the news today, but again, the thesis that Latin America is the most important market for crypto is just playing out. So given that, why don't we start off and run through some of the news items, because there's a lot to get through and we want to make this one short and sweet as well.
Yeah. So I think that I'd love to start with what's happening with Uniswap. So Latin America is the most important market and Uniswap knows it. So they are doing like a sprint in Latin America, and we both are helping them, Espacio Crypto and Odyssey. Man, you've been in contact with them like since the beginning. Tell us what's the deal with Uniswap?
Yeah, so Uniswap is doing basically a world tour, and a few of the different stops, particularly in Latin America, are going to be Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia. So if you go to the tweet that you're able to see there on the screen, you'll be able to basically get a sense for on the Luma and sign up for some of the different activations that are happening with Uniswap. They did an Asian tour recently, and this is kind of the next leg. So they'll also be going to New York and Singapore and so on. So definitely looking forward to having Uniswap here in Mexico City, and should be an awesome experience, man. What do you think about this? Why would Uniswap bother to do this?
Well, actually, I think that I was talking with someone from Uniswap today, and I asked this question, and they told me that they identified their usage in the wallet, in the app, and in the DEX, like in the front end and volumes overall. And they realized that there are two regions that they were underserving regarding how much volume and how much marketing efforts they were doing in those regions. The first one was Southeast Asia. That's why a month ago they were in Japan. They were doing, I think, activations in Vietnam and different regions, different countries in the region, in the Southeast Asia region. And the second one was Latin America. So that's basically pretty obvious. They have a lot of demand and they were not covering the marketing activities. So they came to explore the market. We are helping them specifically in Mexico. There's going to be like a founder dinner, a builder dinner that's super exciting. Also, the Uniswap house, we're helping them to throw like an event, a community event. So I have a surprise for them that it's right over there.
Nice, I love that.
Yeah, I'm delivering that for them.
Awesome.
Actually, I'm gonna show it in camera. Well, maybe next time.
Yeah, I feel like a little surprise.
Yeah,
Keep the audience hanging.
It'll be a good surprise. And I mean, you were just saying like this hasn't happened yet. The largest DEX in the industry is now in Mexico. So what are your takes on this? That's the reasons are clear. What do you think that are going to be the impact long term of this of Uniswap in Mexico?
So as all money comes on chain, being able to transact freely from asset A to B and even beyond that, right? Specifically now with Uniswap V4 and their hooks and basically allows you to create an infinitely composable set of DeFi tools, I think is incredibly exciting. There is probably no more important DeFi player than Uniswap, both in terms of its longevity, but also the technical innovations that it brings to the space and the volume that it handles. So I'm incredibly excited, and the impacts I think this is what Frontera is about, right? It's literally the frontier. We were just reflecting on this because it has been a very intense, I think period generally, but I think the frontier is intense. The frontier is not easy, and so I think this is exactly what the thesis here is how do we push kind of the boundaries of what is possible today. And the way we see it is I think the Mexican stock exchange will run on decentralized infrastructure, right? And I'm sure Uniswap will play a really important role in making that happen. So yeah, it's almost, I don't know how you think about this, but to me it's almost like mind-blowingly massive, right? It's like very myopic when you're in the day-to-day, but also when you take a step back, you're like, oh my God, this is huge, right? And so that's a little bit of my take here. But yeah, I mean, what are the implications that you see cascading from these types of initiatives?
Yeah, well, I think that the most important thing afterwards is the footprint that they create and how they follow up, because this reminds me a little bit of what happened around 2019 in Mexico. A lot of companies were coming, Binance was coming. I remember that the companies back then, like, I don't know, Augur were trying to do some stuff, but then they left. And basically they left us hanging and just trying to push. I think that won't happen again because demand is real. Now, I mean, stablecoins, I've been thinking a lot that stablecoins are like the missing link in the financial system between like global crypto adoption and fiat rails, right? And I love this reference because it's the missing link in evolution. We haven't found that like fossil of a chimpanzee between a Homo sapiens and a Homo erectus, so we don't know what happened there. Homo sapiens being crypto rails and everything before like I don't know, more primitive forms of money. Stablecoins are that link, and Latin America is the most important region for that because how close we are to the US. And I think that all of these companies coming are starting to set a footprint and also makes a competition, right? 1inch will look at, okay, why are they going to Mexico? MetaMask will see that. Ethereum will see that. And I mean, we're all into helping all of them explore the market. So it's super exciting. And yeah, so it's going to happen at the end of May, these events in Mexico. 29 of May in Mexico City. So, I mean, people, if you're in Mexico, you should come. You should travel to Mexico City for this.
Absolutely.
And if you're in Mexico City, I don't know, follow Espacio Crypto and Odyssey, and we'll let you know all of the things that you need to do to assist the different events that we'll do.
Exactly, man. So cool. Let's talk about all the other really exciting news that we have on the roster for today. So I think we've seen a lot of updates here. So one of them is that Truebit and Ondo Finance are taking tokenized bonds to Latin America, right? So this is through USDY, and they're essentially creating this massive partnership. Why is this exciting? I mean, I think that, again, just validates the same thesis that we've always had, is Latin America will increasingly become the beachhead market for global players. It's no longer the beachhead market for Latin American players, but actually, if I want to go sell, I don't know, seashells, I'm not going to go sell them at the sea. I'm going to go sell them in the mountains, right? And I think that crypto is needed here. It is, both the consequence of really archaic financial infrastructure and also the very outdated systems, the poor monetary governance policies that we have in the region just make this a very naturally flourishing region. What do you think about tokenized bonds and this play with Ondo and Truebit? How do you see that playing out?
Well, I think that Ondo is one of the most exciting real-world assets platforms right now. And talking with Stanley from the Brazil Crypto Report, we were just thinking on how specifically Brazil has a lot of appetite for this type of tokenization mechanisms. So I think that it's really exciting that Latin America is the beachhead market. And I think that if you're a global player, you need to understand within Latin America what's the target or which is the main country that you want to address, because as we've said a lot in Frontera, it's not the same in Brazil, it's not the same Mexico. I think that if I were Ondo, I would focus first on Brazil. It's the most competed market, but at the same time it's the most advanced one. So also some part of news from this week is that the Brazilian B3, that it's the stock exchange in Brazil, is gonna offer futures of Ether and Solana.
Right.
I mean,
Crazy.
Legends again.
Yeah, man. This conversation we had with Aaron Stanley, which the audience will get to hear very shortly, was amazing, right? I think there's probably very few more informed people than Aaron in Brazil when it comes to thinking in a very deep way around why is Brazil the way it is? Why is Wormhole working with Mercado Bitcoin to make this cross-chain RWA play?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Why is, why XRP Sol ETFs happening there? Like, what is going on there? And what's interesting is it was basically like very government-led initiatives and a push for open banking systems. And then that was what catalyzed that. And we don't really see that because you're not, in a short term, incentivized to do open up financial markets. But the reality is Brazil's completely flourished in the financial infrastructure and now has unlocked so much value, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it speaks to these, people being to shift away from like the short term, like, oh, I want to, sort of extract as much value from this current way of doing financial infrastructure and open up banking and open up financial rails such that we can have the new banks come in and the Ondos and so on, right?
I really like that conversation because Aaron told us how this was partly pushed or greatly pushed by the central bank, like opening PIX, having an open payments financial system that anyone can access. It's huge. And at the same time, those same regulators are trying to ban stablecoin transactions to like self-custodial wallets. And he told us this specific number that they sized that, they analyzed and around of 1/3 of all money leaving Brazil was through crypto. So, I mean, we kind of understand why these regulators want to try to keep like a closed financial system at the same time. So Brazil is a fascinating market. I think that we should explore it a little bit more. And man, another really exciting news of this week was, I saw this from Dave from Etherfuse. Let me read this tweet. Mint burn both MXN and MXN yield for free from any local Mexican bank account for free. Again, it's a moral imperative to move FX to DeFi. I'm really excited about what the Etherfuse guys are building. What do you think would be the implications of having absolutely free mint burn between the Mexican financial system and a stablecoin?
So I think that so it's sort of the opposite of what we were seeing in Brazil, right? Where it's like actually you go from this like closed system where you can't even withdraw your own stablecoins to now being able to move very freely from fiat into MXN. So we're going to do a whole debate on like local stablecoins, and we'll bring in some of the gigabrains that are working on this stuff, because ultimately what I think this does is it essentially allows for that very seamless bridge-like experience that I think we all kind of yearn for in the space, where it's like, I have crypto, you guys are working on this with Mando as well. It's like, I have crypto, I need to spend it. I have fiat, I need to get into crypto. How do I do that in a very seamless way? So that's what this unlocks, hopefully, like particularly at the institutional level, is I want to be this, like, see this very seamless movement of capital. What are you thinking? Like, I think Etherfuse is really pushing the envelope here. In fact, I sent you a few different links as well that compares a bit of the volumes of MXNE, MXNB, and Shock, which is the decentralized stablecoin. And so would love to be able to just like quickly run through those and take a look at like how are these different stablecoins performing, right? So one thing that's really interesting here, if we compare the three big stablecoins, or I guess most popular, some of, right? So we have MXNB, which is Bitso stablecoin, has a market cap of 200,000, and then we have. But what's interesting, if we look at the volume, they've had about and then MXNE has much lower market cap, 72,000. But let's compare the volumes, right? So 24-hour trading volume, $493 for MXNB, and MXNE has $24,000 in trading volume. So that's insane, given like the size of the market cap versus the trading volume, right?
I think that something interesting is also the approach, because MXNB, I know that they are onboarding institutional clients only right now.
Right.
And greetings to Alvaro. He's like an
number one fan.
Number one fan. Dude, we are also number one fan of Alvaro.
Yeah.
And so the strategy is really clear. They're not moving money right now, but they are onboarding partners.
Yeah.
And instead, MXNE, they are trying to push volumes and try to bootstrap liquidity.
Mm-hmm.
That it's a whole different approach. One is more trad, like this is a huge bunch of tokens, go trade it.
Right.
And the other one is like, come, bring your assets, and you'll start trading. I think that actually I'm really excited about MXNE, what Etherfuse is building. And the Shock stablecoin is really, it's an interesting community initiative.
Right.
But I don't think it'll have a lot of impact in the long term.
Yeah.
Out of these three, I'm more bullish on MXNE to be like from my perspective.
I think it's just like open systems will win, right? And interoperability and being able to move money on chain seamlessly is ultimately what's going to win. So cool. Well, that wraps up maybe our shortest frontera.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we're cooking.
Short
I need to run
Yeah.
to a meeting with ABC.
Awesome.
But thank you for coming to Frontera. Next week, we're going to have a banger episode without a question. I think it'll be Manu from Felix or maybe Aaron from the Brazil Crypto Report. Still, that airs on Tuesday. Go listen to it. You can follow Kush at 0xKush. You can follow me at Abraham CR. And then again, thank you for listening. See you next time.
Ciao.
Cool. And recording.
Buena.
Venga.